So grab your coffee, grab your water as we dive into this session today. So I've written in the chat, please let us know where you're joining us from. You can write your name and introduce yourself. Let us network, let's engage, even as we continue with the session. So today's session is hosted by Real Senses. We are a social impact company. And today I'm co-hosting with Yao, who is our CEO. And we have our guest today, our panelists. We have Zach and we have Valentine. I will just let Zach go and introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Tilton. I work with the Merle Tech Initiative as an evaluation specialist. I'm also a doctoral candidate at Western Michigan University in the interdisciplinary PhD in evaluation program, where my research is focused on AI and meta evaluation. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here with everybody.
Valentine, please introduce yourself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Valentine Gandhi. I am currently based in Manila. And so mabuhay to those of you who are familiar with this region. So I have a very interdisciplinary background. I started my career in as an ethical hacker doing penetration testing and then moved to international development around 22 years ago, did social work, economics, started off in research, mostly in quantitative research, and then moved to M&E. For the past at least 10 to 15 years, I've been working on the cusp of technology research and evaluation. Until recently, I was the chief of party for USAID Pimela, which is a 14-country MAL platform hosted by USAID Philippines. And I also founded a think tank called the Development Cafe, which works on the cusp of technology and international development, long before there was ICT 4D or things like that in the beginning. So I'm very excited to speak to you all today.
Thank you, Valentine. Yao, would you like to go as well?
Sure, I'm Yao. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Raw Senses, and I come from a long background of the nexus of the junction between technology and people and specifically community development. And it's a big pleasure being with you all today.
Thank you so much, Yao. So before we continue, I would like to say that when it comes to AI in evaluation, the question is not about relevance or maybe should we even use it, or maybe are we ready? The question should be, how are we going to use it responsibly? Because no matter how much we think about it, it's already here and it has already changed the landscape of how we measure impact. So in this session today, we talked about, in the previous sessions, we talked about the introduction, where we looked at the role. We also looked at the relevance of AI in impact measurement. We also looked at the case studies and also the actual practical session where we demonstrated some tools and also the platform that Real Senses use to measure impact from data ethics and also data privacy. So in the session today, we're looking at the future. After all these insights, what is there for us as evaluators? So before we begin, I also want to tell you that in the chat, I'm going to send a link. You can just go ahead and fill it. It's a short survey. We want to hear from you. And we also want to hear expectations for this session. So feel free to just fill in that survey. At this point in time, I'll just let Zach go and also maybe just give us a word in terms of his expectation for this session. Zach, would you like to give us your expectations?
My expectation for the session is to hopefully, share some thoughts and spark some discussion and conversation. It's always a pleasure to talk shop with folks who are wrestling with issues about AI and evaluation. So looking forward to learning, especially learning from my colleague Val, longtime collaborator, and looking forward to hearing kind of the news from the frontier in terms of emerging trends.
Valentine, what are your expectations?
I do expect in each webinars that I speak or even I attend that people take more interest in technology, because often, as development professionals, we have a tendency to avoid it or we leave it to folks who do IT stuff. But we live in a digital world, and so AI, as you said, Naomi, is here to stay, just the way internet was, just the way digital tools are. And so I really like when these things are organized in the global south, because often conversations happen in the global north, either it's London or Washington, D.C. And each time I see something in Africa or in Asia or in Latin America coming about these conversations, it really excites me. And as you know, I knew about this only 2 days ago, and that's why I was eager to participate. That this is an ongoing conversation, and we need to hopefully generate interest in AI for those of you who are new or who are using it. And again, I always learn from Zach and the work he does. And so hopefully together we can generate interest for the audience on AI and its uses in evaluation.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's actually exciting that we have two people that collaborate on the same session. So it's going to be an interesting session. And the fact that one is going to talk about, the emerging technologies, and the other one is going to talk about collaboration. I think the sync is just amazing. So I'm really looking forward to this session. So I'll let you, Valentine, begin. What are the emerging innovations in AI and impact measurement?
Well, let me try and share my screen. Hopefully AI has not blocked it or something. Right. Do you see my screen? Let me put it on slideshow.
We can see.
All right. Thank you for this opportunity again. So when Naomi reached out and said, can you talk about what's next in AI and what are the frontier technologies? I was thinking about what's emerging, because this is such a, the technology is evolving in such a rapid space. It made me think about how even the concept of digital technology itself has evolved through time over the years. At least when I started my career, maybe in the 1990s, 97, 98, I moved from an IT into a social work department where people didn't use even internet, or we had one person in the entire university used to have a mobile phone. And then as I started getting into ICT 4D, where you use existing tools to use for what do you call development work. And then came digital development, where you created tools to use in development, whether it's for health or it's for data collection and so on. And from that, we now live, or at least lived, I would say, in the past, in a digital world where everything is data and mobile and technology and satellites and so on. So we can't escape it. And now with AI, it is only amplified. So it made me think about what is the future. It's important to see the evolution, how far we have come. And so therefore, AI has and is continuing to transform. Even before I finished this webinar or Zach and I finished speaking, I'm sure there's some new innovation that has already happened in China or somewhere where it's like, oh, we could do this now, we couldn't do it yesterday. So that has an implication in the way we do evaluation and research also, because we use MEL is all MEL projects or contracts, right? Somebody does a project and you go and do an evaluation to determine whether their investment was good or not. So it was always reactive. But with AI, we are getting to more real-time, predictive, and generative, that even before you do things, you are being more proactive in even designing the programs. And it's reshaping the way MEL is looking at. And in all sectors, healthcare, education, agriculture, finance, development, and public policy, AI is having an impact. I can sit and talk about each of these on what are the cutting edge technologies happening. That would take an hour of lectures in only those things. But I don't want to go so deep into that. But I'm just saying, because this is focused on evaluation and MEL, I think we as evaluators sit at the intersections of all of these sectors, where we often say in evaluation that evaluators are supposed to guide evidence-based outcome, evidence-based development, evidence-based strategy, and so on. But here there's a real opportunity to really use the data that you've gathered to see where it goes or to even predict. So it's not only a contract-based reactive exercise, but really something that really guides the program, guides the a policy, or guides a small NGO, or whether it's a government program, and so on. So we are able to add that amplified lens. So again, this is not cutting edge. This is something you already know. I saw the speakers earlier in the webinar series went through a lot of this. These are general aspects that we use in impact evaluation or in MEL. And then there's the traditional MEL and there's AI-powered MEL. I'm not going to go through this list. I'm just going to lead it. And of course, I'll share the PowerPoint so you can take a look at it. So AI-powered MEL has amplified the way we do MEL and evaluation and so on. Like, for example, predictive AI-driven analytics can forecast conflicts, food insecurity, look at sentiments that are happening before something is grown, and then you're able to take anticipatory action, whether as an NGO or whether as a government body or a public sector agency, you're able to do. For example, UN's Famine Action Mechanism is predicting food crises and improving the early warning system much better than they used to do using AI. And then much closer to home, your home is African Risk Capacity Group. It is deploying funds using these early warning triggers, something that was not thinkable before, even 5 years before. So these things are happening, and real-time monitoring and feedback loops like NLP tools, ML, dashboards, all these are writing automated reports and things. Again, these are not cutting-edge future things. These are already happening, and I'm just summarizing this. And what this means is smarter M&E frameworks with real-time data, AI-powered inclusion tools. And then, of course, it also comes with ethical dilemmas, which I will speak a little bit. But all of these are leading to locally led, culturally aware AI solutions. Now, coming to the next gen AI, which is the topic of what's out there, these are the things that are emerged. Initially, it was just a very even some of you who have used ChatGPT, for example, I'm sure some of you use on a daily basis, even for fun or for work, but you can see the difference in how it has evolved in an intelligent, or at least in a way it learns. Initially, if you ask it to produce a research report, it'll cook up stories. But now if you see this, at least I would say 80 to 90% accuracy in the references it gives and so on. But from that, we are now moving towards multimodal AI, where we are able to combine text and images and video and speech. I mean, if you are in any of the social media, you will see people generating how the world looked like um, in Babylon 550 CC, waking up in a volcano on the day of the volcano or something like that. So it's able to combine text, images, and video speech. So you can predict scenarios when you do evaluations and see what will happen in different scenarios. So that is being worked on. Autonomous agents are bots that perform tasks and coordinate with others and learn continuously in logistics and research, bots talking to each other. These are some of the things. And then the general AI, where AI is able to function and act with multiple abilities like a human being. We are not there yet. But again, even a multimodal AI or autonomous agent, we were not there yet like 5 years ago, but we're already there. So it's just a question of when rather than if when it comes to general AI, which means any AI is linear, right? Or at the moment it's multimodal, but still it's performing one task and it's combining those tasks. Like if an AI is able to make hot coffee, it can't also drive a car. You need to have a separate AI model for that. It's trying to combining all that is what general AI is, but we are not yet there. But people are working to get it to that level where you see in the movies like Terminator and so on. So, but what are the use cases in the next gen? For multimodal AI in disaster response, you can use satellite images plus natural language processing to do post-disaster satellite images. This is already being used. It hasn't become everyday where every simple organization is used, but it is emerging technologies. Perhaps Zach can also talk about how in some of his work he's talking about. I mean, he's working on using disaster response and humanitarian voice feedback. WFP is using voice to text sentiment analysis, where people leave voice feedback on work, or situations they are in, or reporting conflicts and so on. And then monitoring peace building media. I mean, I used to work in Myanmar before and in other countries where we used to scan texts and videos to monitor hate speech and counter them with, you know, information rather than disinformation. And we can evaluate programs with multiple triangulated data from photos, audio, surveys, and open text data all at once. So these are on multimodal AI. And autonomous agents, you can have field data collection bots, especially if you do third-party monitoring in a conflict situation, and grant management assistance. in early stage prototypes or humanitarian logistics, where large scale logistics can be done very fast, and so on. Again, these are things that are leading us to think whether AI is taking over our jobs, or is AI going to replace evaluators or even program professionals and so on. But I'll come to that in a bit. But these are some of the cutting edge things that are coming up in terms of what's the future of AI. And of course, I already talked about general AI. We are not there yet, but it's being explored in terms of policy simulation, large foundation models, OpenAI, Anthropic, to simulate actual policy debates, conflict scenarios. Of course, human beings are unpredictable, so it's not going to really predict exactly and plan, but at least it's coming closer to being prepared and being proactive in dealing with social issues or international development problems. And global development strategy modeling, where multi-domain planning using agents, again, is still in an experimental stage where I'm happy to talk about more. Trying to stick to the 10-minute things. And then evaluation co-pilots, future systems that could understand program theory, refine indicators, run predictive models, and general adaptive plans without retraining. Once you've done it, it's able to model it on another way. All these are cool technological things happening. And then I think what would be most likely the long-term model, especially we should at least push for, is a co-intelligence, where artificial intelligence is augmenting our capacities as evaluators or as researchers or international, then replacing us. So often when I see this conversation, is AI is going to replace, I would really think that it depends on what skill sets you have. Like if you are in a construction company and you have not learned how to lay a brick, then obviously they're going to let you go. So AI is kind of like that. So you need to prepare yourself to work with AI in one way or the other, whether you're an evaluator or a program person and so on. So some areas where you can do is policy design with AI scenario, predictive insight, program implementation, and human AI collaboration in research, probably similar to what Zach is working on in rapid response. So what is really the future of AI? I'm wary of time, but I'm going to quickly come to the main point of today's lecture. I didn't want to talk too much about technologies. ChatGPT will tell you what's next about itself and also about, but this is the core part of my webinar, where it's not really about cutting edge technologies, but what really is the future of AI. So I want you to ask you a question. Maybe you can put it in the chat. Have you seen this person before? You can, I don't know if you're muted or not, or I can't see the chat because my screen is squaring, but maybe one or two of you can answer. Have you seen this person before?
I never
Especially
seen this person.
fellow gamers.
I see
I give you a hint.
in the chat people saying, is it the Hitman video?
As
The
whoever said
people-
this is right on point. That is Agent 47 from the game Hitman. So that is his childhood, or how he is taken. And then this is how he's grown into a full-blown Hitman. So Hitman is a very famous, at least for gamers, video game. It's in multiple platforms where they take young kids who are orphaned and give them a number in the back. They put a curious code in the back and then train them to be ruthless killers. From childhood, they teach them violence, violence, violence. They show them brutal decapitation, beheadings. That's it. So their mind is full of cold-blooded mind. So even though he's grown into a fully adult, he has no meaning. And in fact, in one of the movies, even it was made into a movie, he asks one of the policemen, "You are a policeman and a good person, you kill. When does a man decide it's good to kill?" Because they are so trained in such a way that he doesn't even know to kill is wrong, because he's trained to only kill. He's a hitman. And that is what it is. He doesn't even have a name. His name is Agent 47. So why am I saying this? Is because what is the future of AI? Anybody?
We were hoping you will tell us, Valentine.
The future of AI is you, the person you look at every day in the mirror. AI is shaped by you. AI is not shaping you, you are shaping AI. And then often people talk about responsible AI. I often argue, this is from one of my papers that I'm about to publish on the misplaced focus on responsible AI, where we always say that, oh, we need ethical guidelines and practice as if it's a thing. I mean, it's like this child which is manipulated and trained into a particular way. So it'll do what you want it to do. So you as a person, as an evaluator, have to be responsible. So the future of AI is really you as a responsible evaluator, as a responsible program person, to work with these technologies or work with these technology companies who are running at a speed of, lightning speed in developing technologies, rather than running away from them saying it's taking away jobs or this, but really working with them and understanding how these technologies are formed. I mean, often you see in a bunch of codes, you think it's something complicated. It's actually very simple if you learn, or if you spend some time to get to understand how it is. And change is inevitable. The only constant is change. And so you need to say, how do we ensure those who create and use AI act responsibly? So future of AI is really you and I who can help shape it to be truly what it can do for impact evaluation or international development in general. So all systems are product of human design, all AI systems, and they reflect the values and biases and intentions of the creators. I mean, so I've been 5 times USA Chief of Party. In the beginning, Chat GPT, if you say type a typical Chat GPT, it'll show an old white dude. I think it's improving now, but it will never imagine a brown Indian man as a chief of party of a USA program. But that's because the people who design it think USA Chief of Party is a 65-year-old white dude. And that's how it is. And for all of this, so we can sit here and complain that, oh, AI is biased, it's ethically incorrect, or future, I can't catch up with the technology, and so on. Technologies will evolve. It's like a chimpanzee versus a human being. You can teach a chimpanzee to do math, but it takes a human being to understand the context in which systems evolve. So AI is like that Agent 47 who is brainwashed or is used and trained in a particular way. So to untrain that person, you need to engage with that. You need to engage with technology. And that is really my crux of today's message. The future of AI is not the technology itself. I mean, because all of you know this, there's things like explainable AI, where AI's forums and data sets are coming, where it's designed to explain its action. And those are the areas where ML professionals can come in, or researchers can come in and work with agencies like AI Fairness, Ethical Guidelines, or Acuitas. And these are all open source toolkits that you can use and review and say, write an opinion paper, write a blog, and say, oh no, this is fine, but this is missing. The social justice angle is missing, or something, whatever you want to use in your own field, or you can represent your field. If you work on HIV/AIDS and you find that a particular model developed in your area is not working, engage and say that it is develop indicators and develop learning models with those systems, and engage with people who do such work. I mean, I'm developing a sort of a framework called Aim for Dev. It can be a new field in ML, where you as an evaluator, rather than just using AI to do an evaluation, you can do evaluation to guide AI, like choosing a policymaker or advising a policymaker in even helping them. How do they use AI, and what sort of AI should they be using and designing, and work with technology companies to say, yeah, fine, they're sending me all these funny jokes and Ghibli cartoons, but actually you can do this with it. Because it's not that tech folks are only looking at profit. Sometimes they don't know. And so that is where we need to engage them. So I think as ML professionals, the future is us. The future of AI can be us if we are fluent in what is AI, come to know basic courses on collaboration, ML, data science, communities, tons of communities, Reddit and so on, even free for Google and so on. And then upskill yourself constantly. It doesn't matter if you're 65 or you're just starting from your graduation. These are things that you can always learn. Where there's a will, there's a way. So you can, and these are really cool to work with. You'll see magic when you use data and coding and so on. And especially when you know the context and you work with people who create these fast growing technologies, then you are able to guide them to do magic, in the field, in terms of what needs to happen, rather than waiting on someone else to guide it. So MEL, in conclusion, I would say that MEL is AI future in MEL is from reactive to predictive, can be inclusive rights-based MEL frameworks, and AI is a thing of collaboration and not replacing you. And it has a lot of opportunities for community-driven and culturally relevant innovation. And we need to have ethical foresight in every evaluation using AI, and that comes from you, and learning to be responsible users of AI rather than calling AI to be responsible. It is you who has to be responsible. So as a final thought, the future of AI and development is less about technology, but it's really about who controls it, who codes it, who benefits, and whose voices shape the system. So if it's your voices, if it's NGOs' voices, then we can certainly say the future of AI is not only for a certain people, but really for what it can be intended to use for the greater good. I do leave you some resources. We have a book that I think Zach also has a chapter in on artificial intelligence. It's an open source. I've left the link. There's an e-learning course on this, and other reading materials on how do we do ethical AI and things. I've left some blogs here, but there's tons of articles, but these are some things that I've been involved in. Sorry, I hope I haven't gone over time, and that's my time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valentine. Very, very wonderful insights from there. One thing that I pick is something that I think we've echoed right from the beginning of the sessions, that when it comes to AI, we're talking about participatory. It's not just about using AI in itself as a means to an end, but something that you collaborate with, you know. So I like your line of thought. But then it brings me to a question. With all this cool stuff that we have, with all these things that AI can do for us, why is it that most male practitioners do not want to embrace AI? Is it the skills? Is it the fear? What's happening? Why is it like that?
So that's a bit of a, I mean, it's hard to say why, but in my experience, because I work with a lot of program folks and also with digital folks, is often the siloed nature of things in development itself. You know, everybody has specialists, and you know, if you're gender, then you don't interact here, or if you're male, then you don't know how the program is actually implemented, and so that kind of goes much more deeper when it comes to technology. I mean, they think it's coding and so on, and some people are generally curious, you know. There's a scripture which says, until you become like a child, you shall not enter the kingdom of God. But that is not like being childish, you know. It's like childlike means somebody who is open to learning all the time. There's a difference between a child. I mean, if you have children, you know, they are so like sponges, and that part of us should never really change. And sometimes that is part of upskilling, is creating that curiosity that you had as a child in absorbing knowledge, because we all get part of our, as we grow older, you know, we are caught into that 9 to 5 cycle. And in India, they call it art punch cheese, 8, 5, and 25, which means 8 o'clock you go to work, 5 o'clock you come home, 25th you get your salary and your responsibilities and your kids and so on. So we don't really have time to think and innovate, and it's nobody's fault really. It's just that we are caught in the mundaneness and the routines of life and our responsibilities. And so we need to take a conscious effort to say that, no, I'm going to upskilling myself, and you know, focusing on learning. And that I seems to be the challenge, not because people don't want to, either they don't have time or they don't have awareness, or nobody goes and says, hey, come, let's look at these cool things. And so I think webinars like this that you're organizing is a good bridge to bringing people to gain interest.
Okay. I want us to take the first poll. Let's see what the participants are thinking. I want us to take the first poll. Let's see the responses. Then maybe you can give a comment from there.
Well,
The question aligns very well with what you've talked about. Yes, yeah, please.
No, while people are responding to the poll, Valentine, amazing overview. I wonder if many of the people on the webinar today and the people that are going to watch the recording are young evaluators in the space. Are there any tools you recommend to start with? Any specific starting point for people to play to get their skills ramped up in terms of AI for impact measurement?
I think there's plenty, you know, Perplexity, ChatGPT is doing a pretty good job, Gemini AI for research, and I think DeepSeek, all of them. Again, it's important to know the prompts. You know, all of these can do wonders, but really understanding the prompts. Actually, if you ask any of these tools to generate prompts by imagining itself as an evaluator, it gives you good prompts. It's amazing the way it has evolved in some ways. So I don't want to endorse one particular technology, but I think you can start with the basic ones that are available. You know, OpenAI and ChatGPT and DeepSeek is a good one, and Google's DeepMind, and also Gemini. I've used all of them, and they have different capabilities, but most of them are comparable in one way or the other. I think there's Perplexity for research is also good, especially in coming up with if you're working on research areas. So I would say that is a good point to start.
Okay.
I mean, it depends what you want to do. If you, because
Mm-hmm.
at the moment, for example, ChatGPT has combined multiple, AI tools for visuals and literally for everything. It's become a sort of a Google of its own. So, and DeepSeek is sort of taking over, and probably Zach will have more ideas. I don't want to take his time.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I see in the comments, someone mentioned Notebook LM also as a tool
Yeah,
by
I
Google.
agree. Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul. And anyone else in the comments, feel free to contribute, ask questions. This is an open conversation. And then we see the results of this little poll. The question was, what is your biggest hope for the future of AI and impact measurement? What's the biggest capability that you're looking forward towards? And there are two things at the top here: making data collection and analysis faster, and enhancing accuracy and decision making. Which is interesting that these two came to the top, because I think there is always a trade-off between speed and accuracy. But maybe with good AI platforms that are specific to ML, and with a good combination of human and machine, these two can actually achieved, and making things faster and more accurate than they are today. Also, people mentioned including more voices through AI supported feedback. And yeah, so this is number third, and the rest are lagging behind. So thank you. And back to you, Noemia, for our next presentation.
Thank you, Yao. So we can see them on the screen. We can see the results for the polls on the screen. But moving forward, Valentin has taken us through a very exciting presentation, and he mentioned that, the future of AI is us as evaluators. So I want us to take it further with Zach so that he can tell us, what are the opportunities in terms of using AI as evaluators and as just generally people that are working in impact measurement. So Zach, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen. And bear with me. Let me see if this works for y'all. Can y'all see this?
It's working. You can see it.
Okay, great. Thanks. Always a pleasure to be in spaces where Val is, where other colleagues who are thinking critically about this. Um, loved everything that Val said. I have to say, Val, I was the one who put my finger that was the Hitman video game. I haven't played it. I'm much more of a Tony Hawk Pro Skater guy myself, but I love the cultural references here and the connections that we're making. So, Val talked about this aspect of, why it's important for us to pay attention, right? And that the future of AI and evaluation is really up to us. And that really accords with my vantage point and what I'd like to be talking about today in terms of what we think about the future of AI and M&E, the future of doing moral and now work, and some key considerations for us. I do want to add, if I can, add to my expectations. I loved seeing the chat as well, and the conversations and the questions happening as Val was presenting. I would love if folks, just pose their questions in the chat in real time as I'm presenting, and whether, I speak to them or we come back to them. That's definitely something that I enjoy when we have these types of discussions. So I'm going to be talking about future-proofing evaluation, particularly AI-enabled evaluation, and my sense that along with Val suggesting that it's really up to us to shape what this looks like, that evaluators, those who are evaluation adjacent or working within spaces of evidence in social impact, that it's up to us to develop a critical literacy, a critical AI literacy when it comes to thinking about how to responsibly and responsively integrate AI into our evaluation work. So I'm going to start with some provocations. The first is that AI presents great opportunities, but also some serious risks for evaluation practice. That AI tools can amplify existing biases in evaluation practice. Many AI frameworks prioritize technical fairness and don't really attend to those aspects of culture and power for those who work in cross-cultural situations, intercultural or culturally specific. Wherever you're doing your work, there's some sort of history, issues of power and voice and representation, and those who work in communities trying to do social amelioration often want to have their evaluation work complementary to that and not to cause undue harm. We have a critical choice as evaluators and MEL practitioners. We can either shape AI tools or we can be shaped by them. And my colleagues, myself, we feel like that as folks draw on principles of culturally responsive evaluation and equitable evaluation, that those offer a very powerful vantage point or lens to ensure that when we do integrate emerging technology, regardless of what they are, AI or otherwise, that it helps improve the quality of our practice and helps serve the community's interest rather than subverts that interest. And speaking of interest, it's been great to keep my ear to the ground, to follow the conversations that have been happening in this forum as well as in others. I just want to kind of talk about a handful of hot topics and things that we're learning and hearing. Right? How can we as professionals really set up beneficial relationships between the organizations that are working in this space? What does it look like to move from AI pilots to scale to that implementation, right? Because I think that's right where we're at, and we're seeing a lot of those new experimentations, both programmatically and in evaluation. Capacity building, right? And what does that mean? What does equipping the next generation of evaluators look like in the age of AI? That's a lot of what I'll be speaking about today. But then again, what are the barriers to entry or adoption, right? In terms of cost, infrastructure, technical expertise, limitations around either technologically or ethically, and then the trust of the communities and partners that we work with. It's exciting to see open source tools, many developments for turnkey solutions as well, and proprietary tools. Happy to talk shop about particular tools or platforms. I'll probably leave that to the Q&A, and I'll be a little bit higher level in what I'm presenting and talking about. And then love to hear reports from the field in terms of case studies, research, the work that's covered in the edited book that Val mentioned. It's really important that we're documenting what's happening, because it's only by applying that same type of evaluative logic where we're taking stock, we're fully describing what AI-enabled evaluation looks like, and then making judgments based on our value frameworks. And so hearing actual cases of AI-enabled evaluation. I know that many speakers have, kind of offered a definition, and I'm just, again, don't want to make any assumptions as to who's in the room in terms of where we're at with our experience or expertise. How I think about AI, it's really just trying to get computers to do stuff that humans can do cognitively, right? The same as robotics might be trying to get machines to do tasks physically that humans can do or can't do or couldn't do. That's how I look at AI, is really just trying to have computers do those types of tasks, such as spoken language, and having a sense of reasoning or solving problems. Again, Val talked about the different types of MEL. I'm going to have a table here about the different types of AI, just as a high level framework to hang our hats on. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I like to make that distinction between good old fashioned AI or discriminative AI or decision making AI. Much of the automated algorithmic decision-making systems that we've had for a while or that are embedded into our daily lives in terms of um, the ubiquitous computing of fraud detection, facial recognition, spam filters, the things that we take for granted. AI has already shaped our experience in the virtual and physical spaces. Ever since ChatGPT launched at the end of 2022, the public has been exposed to what researchers have been working on of the generative AI, right? And what that means and the distinctions of how there's no more of this barrier to entry to have this deep data science or computer engineering skills. And what do these technologies and tools do in terms of generating new data and new content? And that's predominantly what I'll be speaking about today in terms of its relationship with evaluation and evaluation capacity. So what is AI-enabled evaluation? Simply put, it's just the responsible use. And again, we're not placing that responsibility on the system, but on the users of the systems of artificial intelligence to hopefully improve our evaluation processes and products. Just briefly, I mentioned it's really kind of two eras, so to speak, in recent time. There's pre-ChatGPT and post-ChatGPT, right? It's been great to be at the fore and kind of participate and observe all the developments. It can be really seem like we're traveling in warp speed at some times. Other times, maybe not as fast as we'd like to go, or maybe too fast. But I've been privileged to be a part of a community of international practitioners who are wrestling with these issues. And in particular, I should mention that as I work with the MRLTech initiative, I'm also involved with the natural language processing community of practice as a working group lead. We have multiple working groups, and I'm co-lead of the Sandbox working group, where we have in the community of practice over 1,500 practitioners, evaluators who are showing and telling, asking questions, coming for webinars like these. And it's really in these spaces that I feel like we can learn from one another and leverage what we're doing in our day-to-day in terms of using AI. And so I think Rural Senses for hosting, fora like this so that we can really democratize that learning and share across, break down those silos that Val talked about. So another kind of conceptual framework to think about is for me and us at MRLTech Initiative, we like to think of two ways to integrate AI and evaluation. It's that evaluation adjacent work that maybe all of us or all knowledge workers benefit from using large language models or generative AI or chatbot based tools, automating emails, helping being inventive, helping us with knowledge management, those things that aren't exactly evaluative, but that evaluators do. And then there's the evaluation specific tasks, right? Those key junctures or processes that we do in our work from kind of the project lifecycle or the evaluation lifecycle. And so these are kind of how I think about when we use AI in our work. Those two distinctions, evaluation specific tasks have more, the stakes are higher. We need to have a bit more warranted credibility assurances. But I'm often toggling between these two tasks when I use AI in my work. More specifically, we're seeing a lot of ad hoc use of these off-the-shelf Gen AI tools. Many folks who work in organizations have access to embedded tools like Google or Microsoft Copilot or otherwise. We're seeing a lot of cool things happen with low code or no code, GPT experimentation, I should say, low code or no code kind of programming, which is a great development for lowering the barrier to entry for creating digital tools for either evaluation or programming. And a handful of other developments in terms of just a swirl of activity in this space and folks who are recognizing that AI is here to stay and trying to leverage this technology to benefit our community. We, in addition to the book that Val mentioned, there's other edited books. We participated on a New Directions in Evaluation special issue on AI and evaluation, webinars like these, blogs, podcast episodes, conference sessions. I'm currently at the Culturally Responsive Evaluation and Assessment Conference in Chicago with my colleague in Merle Tech Initiative founder Linda Raftree. It's been very rewarding to be in these spaces to talk with the practitioners to how they're using these tools. We're seeing organizations build and ship tools for evaluators, wrappers around whether some sort of language model or frontier or foundational model to other types of bespoke tools. And of course, the professional training opportunities that we have, which I'm involved with a handful of colleagues. So, big data and I want to make this comparison of when we were 10 years ago talking about big data versus where we're at now. Many of you maybe recall this quote or sentiment that big data is like teenage sex. Everyone talks about it, but nobody really knows how to do it. A handful of folks have kind of taken that and made their own variation or spin off that. I believe it was Dan Ariely who said that. Um, I've been thinking a lot lately that generative AI is kind of like the opposite in that at least I'm seeing that a lot of Gen AI is like teenage sex, the opposite. Nobody talks about it, but everyone is doing it. At least when we're in our spaces, we find some folks maybe hesitant to reveal the extent to which they use the AI. There's concern that maybe it devalues our work. But I hope that we can continue to have spaces like this where we're sharing our learnings and sharing what we're doing, both in that evaluation adjacent and evaluation specific tasks. So AI-enabled evaluation capacity building, I believe, is a really important aspect when we think about the future of our work, our profession, and the influence or disruption that AI has. Simply put, it's any type of professional development experience intended to promote critical AI literacy and possible and if integrated, responsible integration of AI into our processes and products, hopefully to improve quality. Speed and accuracy are two criteria of quality evaluation, but they aren't the only criteria. And why is this important? Well, it's important because AI, as Val talked about, it's human made. AI like evaluation is evaluating, it's value programmed. Algorithms are opinions embedded in code. We might say algorithms are values embedded in code. And unfortunately, a lot of the algorithms that we, historically have built haven't been really great in terms of being representative of our society. And in some cases, some algorithms have adversely shaped our society. And so this is kind of setting the stage as to why it's important for evaluators to engage in AI and how it's affecting our work. Because we can either, again, choose to be shaped by AI and have our work shaped by AI, or be active participants in shaping what this means for our field. And again, we need to take this upon ourselves to shape the field because there's a lot of challenges and risks in terms of the impact it can have both for our practice and the communities we work in. You may be familiar with upstream challenges such as the costs to the environment in terms of cooling data centers or rare earth minerals that are needed for the computer chips, the GPUs to train and run these models. There's also downstream concerns about how we use these tools responsibly. And we need to be mindful of this because there's many types of biases. These aren't all of them, but these are a handful of different biases that can affect the accuracy, and not just the accuracy or technical quality, but can have real world implications for folks who these systems are intended to benefit. For example, in Michigan, where my doctoral program is located, there is an algorithm that was deployed to determine the eligibility of citizens to receive social welfare assistance for food assistance. And this algorithm mistakenly kicks tens of thousands of people in the state of Michigan off of food assistance. And so when we put these systems out in the wild, sometimes they have adverse effects if we're not being thoughtful and intentional about them because of biases. We know that there's linguistic biases of these large language models. This graph kind of shows how ChatGPT performed in this particular evaluation. And I love that the AI field lives and dies by evaluation. It's just they evaluate all the time. They just don't have evaluators to do their evaluations. But it's something that we need to pay more attention to because it does affect how these tools show up in our work. Um, and so because of those risks, we have a responsibility to think about how, as evaluation units or functions or practitioners or teams, um, how we align the tool integration with our value frameworks and with the professional values we have. If many of you might know this cartoonist online, I think it's KCD or some order of those letters. Always great social commentary in terms of technology and how technology interacts with our lives. As evaluators, we're interested in standards. With AI, there's a lot of standards because a lot of different stakeholders and actors are interested in making sure that it serves us well. But oftentimes that, excuse me, translates into multiple standards. So this is one example of how multiple high-level technical controls and standards map onto one another. This is often, above my pay grade in terms of I'm not building AI systems and deploying them or training foundational models. We may be fine tuning or doing, some technical projects in the work we do, but for retrieval augmented generation. But more often than not, evaluators are looking at and working with these what have been called fairness, accountability, transparency, and equity frameworks that take the shape of either a combination of values, as you see with the Microsoft values here, or principles like Google, which are really values with verbs. And these are intended to help people use AI to do so responsibly. Now, the principles are really important because the space is so fast moving and dynamic and complex that principles, which are basically injunctions or prescriptions or guidance to do some sort of action, they provide guidance for us to navigate complexity more so than some rigid plan or rules or even our best future strategies programmatically or in evaluation. And, I believe that if we pay attention more to how we live those values in our work and translate that to the principles, that we can take more agency and part in shaping how this technology affects our work. So I'm going to offer just a handful of critical examples of principles, three, to give you an example of what I mean. The first, at a high level, strategically, everyone should be interrogating technology as we integrate the technology. Specifically, we need to think evaluatively about what tools we use, whose values are programmed into those tools, and how we can understand what criteria of quality to make judgments about which vendors to partner with, which tools to use, what points in this evaluation process or products that we integrate them. There's this notion about theory-free evaluation, which basically says if I'm a wash expert or a piece building expert, that it either helps me do evaluation better in those fields, or maybe it biases me and my work. I'm not going to weigh in on that, but I will say that evaluators, we need to understand how the technology works at a basic level and how it is affecting our work. It's here. I don't want to sound techno-deterministic, but AI is here. And, whether or not you choose to engage with AI in your work from a principled standpoint because of the ethical contradictions or, challenges in terms of the ways that this technology is made and used, to the pragmatic aspect of whether you just don't know how to use it. We don't have the luxury of not paying attention to it. And we at least need to develop a literacy and understand how this technology is working in our practice. And finally, span boundaries, build bridges, be transdisciplinary, and foster solidarity. This is really intended to kind of break down that, what Val termed as being siloed. I'm in the Midwest here in the the United States. And when you get out to the countryside, you see these big silos of grain where corn is put into, and it's often very vertical, and intended to prevent, transfer of things getting in or things getting out. And similarly, we need to kind of break down those silos and bring our logic and innovative thinking to different disciplines, look to different disciplines like accounting, like audit, like research, and how they are reckoning with this disruptive moment. And we really need to kind of have somewhat of a united front against a techno-determinism that says everyone needs to adopt every aspect of AI all the time at 100 miles an hour. I see the value of the technology, but we really need to be thoughtful. And so with that, I'm just going to leave this last example of an organization I worked with. And last year, we published what I believe is one of the first really high-level strategies or evaluation policies on generative AI in evaluation. If you're unfamiliar with this resource, I would highly recommend checking it out and the work that the independent evaluation office at UNFPA is doing. And hopefully we can begin to think about these principles personally as we practice as well as organizationally. And I'm gonna just leave it at that because I'm sure we're gonna have a great conversation. I do just want to say that again, my kind of key takeaway is that we have a responsibility to engage. It's up to us to shape how this technology shows up in our lives and our work, and we shouldn't just let it shape what our work looks like. And the kind of key to that is really taking responsibility of developing our critical AI literacy as individuals and as a community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zach. Noemia, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Zach, for the presentation. Very insightful. I like the examples that you gave. Evaluators are using AI, but they're not, telling that they're using AI. So I think we need to get it out there. Which part is working and which part is not working, If we are using AI, there's need for us to cascade the knowledge, I think there's this the older generation of evaluators, then we have the middle, and then we have the younger generation. So there's needs to really just bring the information out there so that in whichever group you are in, the information is out there for all of us, for the good of the profession and for the good of the people that we work with. So thank you so much for that presentation that is showing us opportunities and also just the future of AI. Indeed, the future of AI is us, the actual evaluators that are using the tools. So we will go to the poll. Let's get the second poll, and then we can get comments. But I think there was a question here for Zach. Let me just see it. There's a question about financing institutions. That do you know about any donors, how donors are using AI to analyze the data from the beneficiaries? So any one of you can take it, either Val or Zach. Do you know of how financing institutions are using the data?
Yeah, since I'm unmuted, I'll go ahead and take a stab at this. I do know that donors are interested in this just as much as implementers and community-based organizations. I know of a grant-making organization that is doing this, that are trying to understand how they can use AI to kind of take out that kind of technocratic aspect that we build into our accountability systems to free up time for their workers to have more of that human intelligence brought to bear on the support. So I would say I know of at least one organization. My guess is that most organizations are thinking about this, if not piloting ways to do this.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And I have a follow-up question for you. You talked about the National Language Processing Community of Practice. Is that
Yes.
a community of practice that is open to evaluators, or it has a specific, does it need subscription, registration?
There's a registration and just an agreement for community kind of policies, but it's free for anyone to join. Again, we have about 1,500 members in that community. I will share a link with the organizers for them to share with attendees. So please, if this is getting in community virtually to speak about this and how it's affecting our work, please do join us. We'd love to have your experience and expertise enriching the community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I have another question that for Zach and Val together. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for both of you for the amazing conversations. And I really particularly love that both of you shared a lot of resources of how to stay up to date, because that was one of my questions that I prepared, but you just answered that while going. And because this field is moving so fast, so it's so valuable to know where to catch up and where to stay up to date. So thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question, Zach, but also Val, you discussed both about the evaluation specific AI compared to commercial AI. Do you think there is a case for tools that are specific for evaluators, for evaluation that leverage AI, or will we end up be using, will evaluators end up be using just the commercial AI tools that we all know?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that question. Yeah, the two distinctions to make with evaluation of adjacent tasks and evaluation specific tasks. These are categories of use cases where folks are using AI to enable their professional work, right? And so when you do those evaluation adjacent specific tasks, you can use either those turnkey off-the-shelf commercial tools that anyone has access to or that are marketed to the general public, or you can use, a group of a small but emerging group of tools that are being marketed for knowledge workers who do systematic inquiries, such as research or evaluation. And my sense is that we should all kind of be testing out both classes of tools and really asking, are these meeting our needs for the particular tasks that we're doing, right? So it's a mixture of both of those, and I use both tools that are intended for researchers or just intended for general use, just because the nature of the technology is its general purpose, and so that it can be applied across disciplines. So yeah.
Thank you, Val. Would you like to also
Sure.
answer?
Yeah, I mean, I want to echo what Zach mentioned. So even ChatGPT, for instance, you can create a sub GPT of your own for specific purposes with specific commands, and it's not very complicated. I know some of my friends like Wayan, I don't know if you know him, he keeps creating specific GPTs for specific tasks. Like now USA layoffs happened and he created one to predict impacts and things like that. So those are becoming common, but it's not long before one of these, there are so many tech companies. I used to be part of what is known as a GI, Global Evaluation Initiative, which is a World Bank UNDP thing. I'm still part of it in some sense, but at one point we had a launch pad where we had an open call, or at least the World Bank had an open call for M&E specific software companies to come up with, or rather provide them, like, what digital accelerators do, right? Like really provide with, we didn't give them funding, but we gave them like tech support. That's what at the time we had budget for. You can still look at it online. It's called Global Evaluation Initiative Launchpad. So there were multiple ideas on using AI as a tool specifically to research and MEL. And again, there are plenty of companies that already do MEL specific work. So I'm sure they're thinking of integrating AI into it or using it. But as Zach was mentioning, these tools are already so powerful that I think it's worth, instead of waiting for some software company to come up with a MEL specific or MEL adjacent software, I think each of us have a responsibility to try it in your own fields. When you want to try seeing it, okay, just for comparison, you can use your traditional one and then revaluation, but then also try using this and compare results and maybe publish a paper about it, and we can all learn from that.
Thank you both. So since Rule Census is one of those companies that develops tools specific for evaluation, I'm definitely agreeing with you that it's really case specific, and the most important thing is to test things out and to make your own decision. And another little follow-up question, like I said, a lot of the people that are watching us now are evaluators themselves in different periods of their career. And I'm sure many of them are worried about what many other people are worried about, losing their job for AI. How much do you think male professionals should worry about losing their job to AI systems? And what might they be able to do to make sure they don't lose their job or stay relevant in the age of AI?
I can go first. Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, Zach. No, I mean, I don't know if people will actually lose their jobs in that sense. Like I said, AI is eventually going to be like something that you're going to end up using, whatever stage you are using. And so co-intelligence is what's going to happen. But if you simply say that I'm not going to use it, it's difficult. So I would say that if you want to upskill yourself, this is a great opportunity and great time to being ahead of the curve and trying to learn how these things are done. I would never advocate for abandoning traditional mail at all. I mean, any tool is good for amplifying what you can do, but it doesn't mean. I can give you an example of. I mean, Zach mentioned big data, and we did a work in Indonesia comparing mobile phone data of migrant workers, and the mobile phone data showed that they were in places of comfort, like near a mall or near electricity. But when we do ground truthing, they were not. They were just, it was mobile phone was taking the nearest tower, which happened to be near a fancier place than where the migrants actually are. So yes, it's important to use AI, but I would say use it in adjacent to your traditional tools. You don't, you're not going to, if you're an excellent evaluator, I think that's only going to contribute to what you are. I mean, sorry for taking movie references. There's a movie called Limitless, where a guy takes a pill and then it amplifies him. So there's a line there which says, it helps if you're already smart. So if you're already a good evaluator and if you use AI, obviously it's going to enhance your skill. And so it's not about losing your job. It's really about how can you diversify your skill and enhance what you're already doing. Sorry, Zach, didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, thunder stealing. Stealing. I love that example of the assumption that folks were, or at least what initially seemed relevant with the migrant cell phone data, and how it was just not places of comfort, but actually that's what the cell phone towers were. It's a really great anecdote. You know, can you remind me the question again? Because I'm still thinking about Val's great insights.
Yeah, I was asking about, is there a concern for male professionals to lose their job?
Yeah.
And what can they do about it?
So, I won't say it's a moral panic, but we had this, 10 years ago, and Michael Bamberger would be talking about, evaluators need to develop data science skills, or the jobs are going to be taken by data scientists. Now we have, a new threat. It's, the unembodied AI boogeyman. I very much like the co-intelligence model that Val and others have put forward, and feel like that there's, despite the fact my doctoral research is asking to what extent can these systems conduct evaluative reasoning, right? Just to really kind of get a pulse check. But there's just there my sense is that yes, you could technically get these systems to possibly automate many chunks of the evaluation system, or you can make an agent that could theoretically do remote-based evaluation end to end, possibly. But that's, and there are likely going to be units or organizations that go hard on that when the technology does get really there. And there may be a market for that. There's always going to be this push to try to cut costs. Our development space is shot through with new public policy and this idea of results-based management, which are these approaches to our work that really kind of try to take the logic to the private sector and bring it into the public space. And in some areas that works, in some areas it doesn't. And but what I'll say is that we'll always need human intelligence. And even if we get to a point of AGI, right, that there's still going to need to be, at the end of the day, it's humans' lives that we are trying to improve with this technology, and that we're trying to achieve with our systematic, evaluation and research. So I'm not concerned about our jobs going away. And if they go away because it's the machines do it better, great. That means the evaluation is better and it leads to better development of humanitarian or peace building results, and we can go do other things. We can work ourselves out of a job. I don't see that horizon really near, if at all.
Thank you so much. I love this notion of co-intelligence and relying on artificial intelligence and human intelligence, which is really a lot of what we're voting for, we're rooting for in Rural Census and the platform that we developed. And if anyone wants to check out how that works, it's on the second episode of this webinar series. And of course, feel free to reach out. Valentine, yeah. See, your hands is up. But you're still on mute.
Sorry, one point on these jobs. There is a quote that I saw in a newspaper by a author and a video game enthusiast. Right? I think her name is Joanna Masijuska. I think that's her last name. And she said, I don't want AI to do my art and creativity so I can do the laundry and dishes. I want AI to do the laundry and dishes so I can do my art, So I think as evaluators, we need to think like that. It's not like, oh, I'm doing all this, so I sit back and be irrelevant. But this is where you're more relevant now, where you come up and bring your skills to AI. And so you're able to, give all these menial tasks to AI, and then you keep the genius of your mind leading it.
I'm
I
definitely
just want to
waiting
add
for
to
that
that.
robot.
I love that quote. I just want to add to that. We have a sticker that we hand out at conferences, and it says less crunching, more evaluating. And the idea is that, we don't want to have the AI do the fun stuff, right? And so that's a great example of our daily lives. When it comes to professional work, like I would much rather be working with communities to make those value-based decisions and evaluative judgments, having been informed by some sort of automated process, right? I don't want to crunch those numbers, though it's fun to do all of those technical components of our work. It's really, I think, what is, these human components is the synthesizing values and facts. And right now, there's alignment is still a challenge in terms of getting these AI systems to align with our value frameworks. So just wanted to say I love that quote, and it really captures, I think, kind of my response to that curiosity of AI replacing or taking things away from us. I think it's going to help us add more valuable things to our work in our lives, if we can do it responsibly.
Thank you so much, both. Just a moment before I give it back to Noemia. How can people follow you if they want to keep up with what you're doing, your publications? What's the best way to follow you guys?
I can post my LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and also funnily enough, Instagram, but not weird stuff, but just work related. But LinkedIn is best, I think. I can post my LinkedIn on the chat. Yeah, please reach out, and especially if you are in Asia or in Africa. I prefer a lot of collaborations in the Global South, folks. So nothing against my brothers and sisters in Global North, but I just think we just need to collaborate more.
I love that. I'm all for South-South cooperation, and agree with Val. There needs to be a lot more of that. I just dropped my LinkedIn and my email address, and I think that's my LinkedIn. I kind of just typed it in manually. Just search Zach Tilton, you'll find me. You can also, again, join the natural language processing community of practice. You can find our work at merletech.org, where we post blogs and our latest research. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
both.
and if you're
It
interested in
was
that course, in the PowerPoint, I had put a new course that is being launched that specifically looks at areas that you can do. I think it's in partnership with Google Labs, so they might use a bit of Google work, but I think it's something you can look at. And I think it's
definitely
heavily discounted for Global South folks. It's an e-learning self, but I think it also has mentorships and programs. And Meltec
Right.
also has a lot of resources. I used to be associated with Meltec also before with Linda. Yeah.
Wonderful. So definitely, with your permission, Val and Zach will share the presentation you showed today with the people that registered to the webinar, so they can because there are so
Sure.
many valuable resources there. With that in mind, I want to share the results of the second poll that we asked: do you think AI will be a core part of impact measurement in the next 5 years? 87% say absolutely, and another small percentage says maybe. So overall, I think the picture is clear. And with that in mind, I'm giving the floor back to you, Noemia, to finish up the day.
Thank you so much, Yao. It's been interesting. The quotes are amazing. I love them. The enhancing part, like you can only enhance something that you already have. So if you don't have it in you, I mean, AI won't do anything at all. So I love that part that we can be talking about those things today. I think the whole point of the webinar, right from the word go, has been to share knowledge. There's a lot that people are doing with AI, but then there's also a lot that is not yet out there. So I think it's important that once in a while we meet as evaluators and just share knowledge, share the things that are working, and also the fact that we've been talking about collaboration today. I had a lot of questions on collaboration, which were actually answered during the presentation, like where are we in terms of collaboration? So I'm glad that also those things were answered in the collaboration. I also had questions about, not leaving out the smaller companies in terms of innovative technology. All those things have also been answered in the presentation. So I'm excited that it's been very insightful, a lot of dialogue, a lot of insights that all of us are going to go out with. So still on collaboration, there's a QR code on the screen. If you want to collaborate, you want to reach out to us, you can scan it, or you can actually use the email that is there to get in touch with us at Rural Census. If you're a company, an individual that just wants to learn more about Rural Census, feel free to reach out either to me, to Yao, or to Daniel. His email is right there. So to Zach and also to Valentine, I would like to say thank you so much for coming today. Valentine, I know it's only been 2 days that I contacted you and you jumped on the opportunity. I want to say thank you so much. Zach, I know we've been in touch for quite a long time, so I would also like to thank you for taking time to just be with us today and share your expertise and your knowledge. So from all of us at Rural Census, would like to say thank you. I don't know if Yao, you still have something that you would like to share.
Just thank you for everyone who joined, for me and little baby Nova. And we're looking forward to keeping the collaboration going and keeping the conversation going.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks so much.
Bye, Zach. Say hi to Linda.
Will do. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you soon.